This is the second last class of this series.
Is it too heavy?
No, that's good. Where's Mark? He's volunteering. Wow, nice. I met a volunteer the other day. I was at work. And my employer, my saintly employer, had a major accident. It was really insane, I will tell you. We work with this big concrete pump, and we were pouring concrete into a foundation wall. So it's like a big mold in a way. You pour concrete into this form, right? And I guess we're about 12 feet, 14 feet up on walking on these walls, and pouring concrete in these walls. And we were in between concrete loads, so there was some time before the next truck came. And sometimes what happens is you can get air in the line, and you know what happens if you get air in a hose or something, and you're putting water through and there's air out, it goes right, it shoots up like that. Well, imagine that happening to a machine. Like, so you take a water hose, say, and it's about this, the end of the hose is about this big around, and it's hanging from a great big boom crane, and coming through this hose is concrete, right? So it's really a lot of force. And if air goes through and it gets forced through, it is so much force. It happens once in a while, and most of the time when it does happen, people are standing on the ground, right? Well, it just is so much force that it doesn't matter how big or strong you are, you're instantly a rag doll. It's just you don't really have it. You're inconsequential compared to this thing, right? So it happened. I mean, his noise, boom, and the concrete sprayed everywhere, and he was just shot. He didn't fall. He was thrown right down, face first, into the ground, and it was really crazy because he was unconscious. So we don't know whether he got knocked out by the hose or whether he got knocked out by falling. But I was the first one down there, and I came down the ladder, and he was laying in a puddle of water, so he was taking water into his lungs. And so first you're not supposed to move anybody, for one thing, but I had to move him because he was going to drown, right? So I got him there, and I turned him over, and he's making these sounds like he's breathing water, which is scary, and he's unconscious, and he's got massive cuts, and his head's all like messed up here, and he's squirting blood out of his head, right? And then so someone had called 911, and they were asking questions over the phone. Is he conscious? Is he this? No, he's not conscious. And I was just holding with a cloth, first my bare hand, so I'm covered in his blood, and I'm holding, and then I got a cloth, and his bleeding stopped. But we all thought that was it for Mark. We all thought, for a good 5 minutes, we didn't know whether or not he was going to be alive, and especially with the sounds he was making, and it was really crazy to see that. And then you're down there, and also we're all thinking, well, how's he going to get out of this hole? Because we're inside the foundation, right? And then the people came, the fire department, the ambulance, the police, everybody came. It was on the news, actually. And they had to get the guys that come and extract you out of a hole. And there's like, it was like 15 guys showed up in like Star Trek uniforms. Like, we're like blue and black with helmets. They just like a bunch of like beetles that came in there and just like swarmed over everything and just like got them out of the hole. It was really amazing. It was really amazing to watch those guys work. But Yeah, he didn't know. The paramedic came down there and asked him, "Do you know who you are? What's your name?" And he was just coming around and he said, "Me." That was it. Do you know where you are? No. Do you know what day it is? No. Do you know what happened? No. And they were just trying to tell him to relax, And so they came and they went to the hospital, and he didn't break any bones or anything. He just hit his head really hard, which is amazing, because there's lots of steel lying around. He could easily have been killed, so easily. And then so we went to the hospital to see him, and we talk about this thing in the other Buddhist classes. It's a thing called bodhicitta. Do you remember when we it was in the first few classes we talked about your motivation, why you would do anything, right? Why you would sit down to meditate, and the fact that what you have on your mind at any point in time counts. There's even your thoughts are creating your future, right? And so that if your motivation to sit down and meditate is so that you can perfect yourself, so that you can then help others, and so that you can then also really be forced really into the perception of a perfect world. Even a perfect, if you perfect yourself, you do see a perfect world. Even though people would argue, well, doesn't an enlightened being see suffering? Yes, an enlightened being sees suffering. But if you have done what you need to do to remove the causes of suffering in your mind, you can't actually suffer. You can't actually feel mental anguish or any kind of thing like that. But once your mind is perfected, you can be aware of other people's suffering, the way they see themselves suffering, in the way that they see themselves. But if you've perfected your body and your mind, and you see a perfect world, you get to, because at that point you're beyond time and you're beyond space. Your mind no longer is trapped and no longer holds that projection of being trapped by linear time, and you're no longer your mind is no longer trapped by a misunderstanding of where the reality is coming from as far as your perception of the world. So you could perceive a world that other people may see as a suffering world, and people are going through whatever they're going through in the world, and see it as perfect, because you can see the end. You can see that each individual is experiencing exactly what they need to experience, and that everyone will reach the place that you reached. And so you help them as best you can. But the way that in order to plant the right kind of potential, the right kind of seeds in your mind to be able to see a world like that, you have to be obsessed in a way about the welfare of other beings, and trying your best to help other people whenever you can, however you can, even if it's small things. Because when you reach the end goal, your whole world is perfect, which does not exclude anything. So we talked about this last night. Your mind has reached a place where you could look, anything that you perceive, anything that you look at actually gives you pleasure. It causes like a rush of bliss in your fingers. Ooh. Like everything that you see, right? To the color of Sarah's shirt, whatever it may be, right? But in order to create a mind that experiences the entirety like that, no one can be excluded from your love. Because if you exclude one person, then you can't. It cannot then turn back into a reflection of everything is perfect because you left out one person. Right? So in order for that to happen, you have to have this thing called bodhicitta, which is the wish to become enlightened for the sake of every living being. As you're going through your life, and there are certain things that happen if you do it a lot and you think about it enough. Basically your mind becomes infused with it to the point where you don't have to conjure it up anymore. It just becomes who you are. It becomes like the backdrop of who you are. And they say, like, at the moment of your death, the only thing that will help you at the moment of your death is all like the dharma or the spirituality or the any kind of path towards becoming a being of love that you have done. It's not that will only help you because at the moment of your death, it's a freaky experience. And you're not going to be able to sit back and like, okay, I'm dying now. Okay, I got to get my binder out, and yeah, I got about 5 minutes left. Okay, right? That's not what's going to happen, right? As like, who knows, right? As you're like flying off of the wall at your workplace. You don't have time to quote the source of all my good in your head on the way down, right? But whatever you have been putting in your mind over and over and over and over again will be the thing that pops up that drives you to your next place, okay? And that's how it works. And so that's how you have to change your mind from constantly trying to achieve worldly things to constantly trying to achieve something that will be more of a spiritual thing, because the worldly things, they will end over and over and over and over again. They must end, right? And the reason why I'm saying this now and comparing it to the story of Mark, because there's a little more to the story, which what's on his mind is business. Okay? He is a businessman, and he's a very good businessman. When everyone else is slow in town, we got work, and he goes down the middle road, and we do like if they want really good work, we can do really good work. If they want us to do crappy work for a little bit of money, we can do crappy work too. And he knows how to ride that thing. He's very nice to his customers. He's very nice to all of us. But he has been doing this. His dad had the company. His dad started the company. He's like 14 or 15 when he started. He went in as a laborer. Then he took over the company. So it's just, he is the whole thing. When he goes on vacation, it's just, it doesn't work right. It just doesn't function right. It's like a bunch of, too many chiefs, It just all goes weird. So, and quite frankly, you would think that as soon as he goes away, there's bad luck, because things go wrong. It's like he's holding this thing together with his mind, right? So, he like just about dies, as far as we're all concerned. He's in the hospital. He can't move. He's totally strapped up. He can only look to the left, look to the right. He doesn't know even what happened. He doesn't even know what happened. He woke up in the hospital, as far as he's concerned. And we get there, all of his work boys show up, and Mark, what are you doing? And he's like, we got to get one more job in. And we're looking at him like, we're all just stunned. We're completely stunned, all of us. We're like, I guess we can if that's what you want, right? But we all recognize how insane this is too, right? And the job that we were doing only got half done. And the job we took got shut down. WorkSafe is shutting the thing down until it's safer. But he just kept saying, just, if we can just get one more job in. We got this Agilia job, can you guys, see if you can get the concrete. And we all love him, and we're all like, well, I guess so, if that's what you want. So we all go outside and we're like, this is insane, we have to go back to work? we're all like completely traumatized. We were all traumatized. I mean, I got to go for a ride in a cop car. I had to go and find his wife with the police officer. And it was really a trip, and we're all like, we're done for the day. So we start making phone calls, and then we find out, like, much to our relief, we can't get the concrete. It's too late, right? But so that's what you need to be like, except it has to be bodhicitta. When you get hit hard and you're laying down, you're thinking about the welfare of other beings. You're thinking, is everybody okay? You're thinking about your spiritual path. You're not trying to, like, figure out whether you can make ends meet, or this is like the farthest thing from your mind. Your concern is the welfare of the spiritual happiness of a whole bunch of people, and that's just your automatic, right? So yeah, and he came to work today. See, that was yesterday, and we're like, Mark, what are you doing here? And he had a very bad head injury, and he shouldn't have been there. And it was actually kind of a depressing day for all of us, because we all knew that he shouldn't be there, and he wasn't quite Mark, and he couldn't engage in conversation. He just couldn't. And you could see as the day wore on, it became finally obvious to him that he just had to leave, right? And he's like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that second job today. We're going to finish this one and go. And he finally left, And we're all like, what is he doing here? Why did he come, right? And everyone has their own theory. Yeah, they all have their own theory. And then we thought we were done again. And then he phoned again. You guys want to do another job? And we're like, dude, no. We don't want to do another job. And so we're all kind of waffling, right? We're like the kids are kicking stones around, going, well, right? He's on the phone, and one poor guy's on the phone, like he's being like, they're saying this, and well, they say this, right? And we're humming and hawing, and finally he said, "Oh, don't forget it. We'll do it first thing in the morning." Right? And we're all praying he doesn't show up tomorrow, for his own sake, right? So, I just wanted to. For me, that whole experience was horrifying. To be holding his head, right, and his blood is filling my hands, and he's laboring breath, and I'm thinking, well, is he gonna? I was praying very hard, but that, when he said, "Can we get another job done?" Then I was like, okay, this is a businessman. This is what, if you want to be successful at anything, this is the kind of mind, like these concert pianists or whoever, the Olympians, right? The arias. Do you know what an aria is? An aria is a person who's seen emptiness directly. And seeing emptiness directly, we've talked about it briefly, but what it basically means is these meditations that we're doing, they're all trying to get us to see the nature of your own mind, really, which is really slippery, right? It's very hard to see that. But there's a thing called the direct perception of emptiness, and in Buddhism it's called that. In other religions it might be called meeting God. But I can tell you this about it. When you meet God face to face, you don't get to be there. the you that you relate to as this person, like doing all these things, in the world, trying to make things happen, that's not who gets to see God directly, right? And when you see emptiness directly, what it is, it's you unite, right? You unite with like reality. You unite with what is. And so, in order for you to have like a perception of anything, or experience yourself, have any kind of a perception, there has to be two things: a subject and an object. When you unite with reality, there is no subject and no object. There's only one thing. So there can be no perception, right? So, in order to have that completely reality-changing, being-changing rebirth of an experience, you need to have an extremely still mind and have to reach this certain platform where you actually go into a state of meditation where you leave your body behind, in a sense of you don't have an awareness of your physicality whatsoever. You go somewhere else that's outside of the desire realm. They say that we are in the desire realm as long as you're running around hunting for food and sex. That's, we're ruled by food and sex, that's what they say. I'm sure there's other things that we were after, but primarily they say that that's what it's about, right? But if you're in the form realm, for instance, if you're meditating and you pop into the form realm, someone can come into the room and jump up and down and yell your name. You don't see them. You don't have they can put your favorite food up your nose, and it doesn't bother you or pull you back or anything like that. So this is the kind of meditator you need to become. So a person who has achieved this is called an Arya, or a stream enterer, meaning that they're on their way out of suffering. And in order to become that, you need to be like the businessman. You need to, in a way of like, you make a choice and you decide every day, I'm going to meditate. I'm going to get good at meditating, and I'm going to do it every day. Because I need to get to this place so that I can meet God directly. And then, because if you don't have this experience, you've just got a bunch more lifetimes to go. You will experience it. You will experience it if you haven't already. It's just, why not hurry it up? Why add 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 lifetimes? Like, just do it. You will eventually have to do it. So yeah, the Arya has become like the businessman, the concert pianist, the Olympian, but with their mind. They have become an Olympian of the mind. Yeah, they're excited about the mind. They're excited about, right? They're like Jacques Cousteau of the mind. Yeah, it's true. You have to be excited about you have to be excited about how this crazy thing is working, right? Because no one can really tell you ultimately or show you. They can only say, try this and try that, and then you have to see it yourself. And it takes some willpower, It takes some willpower to sit down and just like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. And you just turn the mirror, boom, and you just go in and you figure it out. In the meantime, you get instructions on how to meditate, and you get some pointers along the way. But it's 90% willpower. It's 90% your drive. It's 90% your bloody decision. It's it. Nothing can stop you if you decide. And if you think you've decided, and you're mucking around and you're meditating like just once in a while, then you haven't decided. And you know it. You know that to be true. It's because you can look back at your life and you can see anything that you've ever really wanted to do, by God, nothing has gotten in your way. You figured it out and you made it happen. You just made it happen. And you can overcome all obstacles by simply having this fire, I used to. I don't anymore, but I used to teach guitar, and I was better before. And people would ask me, like, like, how long will it be before I can, like, be a good guitar player? And it's like, how much are you going to practice? You could be a really great guitar player in 6 months, or you can be like a half-ass guitar player in 3 years. How bad do you want it, right? When I was learning to play guitar, that's all I could think about for a while. That was it. I was at school and I was just waiting to get home so I could get into my bedroom and just start playing. Right? It's just you have to be like that. Like, excited to get home to meditate. Excited for your meditation. Figuring out what you need to do to make your meditation better. Like, recognize that if you ate 2 plates of lasagna last time, it didn't quite work out. So then you don't next time. Things like that. Anyways, that's enough blah blah. Let's meditate. Should we open the window for a second to get some air in, or should we just meditate? We should It's not bad? The fan's on? Okay. So, remember I talked about, just briefly there, I talked about seeing emptiness directly, and I talked about developing a perfect mind. When you see emptiness directly, you get a real glimpse of what is known as the Dharmakaya. Now, the Dharmakaya is a Sanskrit word, and it means one of the bodies, really, of a totally enlightened being. And when they say, it's kind of a confusing one of the bodies, because then it makes it seem like this enlightened being has all these bodies, right? You can think of it as more like one of the parts. Just like you have parts, an enlightened being has parts. And the Dharmakaya is part of the mental aspect of an enlightened being. The Dharmakaya is specifically, depending on which list you're operating off of, but mainly you can think of it as the emptiness of an enlightened being's mind, or you can think of it as, I think for our purposes today, you can think of the Dharmakaya as the mind of a totally enlightened Buddha. So just imagine the way that you experience your mind now. That's your mind. If you see yourself with a Dharmakaya, the Dharmakaya, a fully developed Dharmakaya, and you see yourself as an enlightened being, then you would be omniscient, beyond space and time, and you would be resting in this place that's called the Dharmakaya. So that's a long story, but just for now, I just need to say that before you go into meditation, and you'll understand why. So let's begin. So again, I'm not going to do a lot of preamble because we've been doing a lot of that. So I'll just do a short preamble to the posture and the breath and stuff before we get into the full meal deal. So take a little time now to settle your body. Doing whatever you need to do so that your lower body doesn't need to move around and is relaxed. Take a deep inhale. Use that in-breath to expand and lift the crown towards the sky. And then keep that nice natural lift as you exhale, and the shoulders relax, hands relax wherever they are. So you're coming to your alert, relaxed position. You want to feel like your spine is straight as is comfortable. Feel this expansive feeling in your heart, a lift, an opening. Jaw relaxes, eyebrows relax, inner smile. Just take a few moments to watch your breath don't watch your breath, but actually experience the rise and fall of your belly. That is simply responding to the breath that you are not controlling. You are simply enjoying the physical sensation. You're using your body now and the breath to anchor the mind into the present moment. Then take your focus up to a little more subtle object, the breath passing at the nostrils. You're starting to slide into this relaxed state of being the passive watcher. Simply watching the point at the nostrils, not engaging in the breath at all, just watching it. And if you're particularly agitated today, try using counting the breath to help. If you're not, then you don't need to use the count. And if you were counting, then you would, at the end of your exhale, punctuate that with the number 1. And at the end of your next exhale, that will be number 2. And then if you do lose focus on the numbers, then you come back to 0. Always remembering to rejoice. If you lose the object and you manage to remember what you're doing and you bring yourself back, do not make the grave mistake of beating yourself up. Just be happy. That's training your mind. Relaxed, alert, at ease. more and more becoming the watcher, settling back. You can have that feeling of drawing back and down, falling into a deeper state of concentration, a more passive state of concentration as you fall back into the area of your heart. And switch now. Make that switch to be the watcher of your thoughts. And let go. And watch any thoughts as they come to the surface. You start to see any image that comes up as nothing but an object of thought. Even the background images of you, your body, your place in the room itself. Every single image arising and falling, just an object of thought, and you are staying in the realm of mind. As you rest in this realm, turn your focus to what it is. This vast state of awareness, this place of awareness. Infinite potential. Try to focus on the awareness itself. Can there even be a moment of awareness without an object that it's aware of? You start to get this sense that these moments of awareness are also simply rising and falling moments of projections in your mind. The moments of awareness are mental images. They're just ripples. It's not awareness, it's awareing. There's no such thing as awareness, because that would be a thing. So the awareing, the moments of awareness, are ripples themselves. What's behind that? What's underneath those ripples of mind? That's the true nature of your own mind. That's the Buddha. It's the Dharmakaya. Your own mind is the Dharma body, and its ripples are your emanations. Now go back to watching your thoughts, the emanations of your enlightened self. Watch how the ripples of your enlightened holy mind create the world. And then gently bring yourself back to the room, always coming out the same way, gently. First with your eyes gently half open and eyes cast down, looking at the floor in front of you. And then as your eyes open more and you take in more of the room, you try to maintain whatever place you may have got to in meditation, for as long as you can. One day it won't end. You'll open your eyes and stand up and it won't be any different. Nice, huh? I think it would be good to stand up, I think.
Yes.
Move the body around. I'll open these windows up and we'll get a shot of wind going through, and then we'll talk a little more about some important things, maybe. Sometimes if you do like a long retreat, doing like a lay room, and you're doing like 4 sessions a day, and you sit so much, by the time you're about, I don't know, 2 weeks in, you can't even stand up. You just have to crawl around for a while.
Yeah.
I saw you do that.
Well, it's
Right?
just like I'd
Sometimes.
forgotten about it and it's dead. Like, it really was like past pins and needles. I couldn't feel it anymore and it freaked me out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's good that you managed to stay in meditation with a dead leg. One time, you know, when Lama Alexander was here one time, and that happened to me. I was sitting there as he talked, and I didn't know that my one leg was dead. And everybody got up to prostrate, and I got up, and my leg just wobbled, and I went right down. I fell down, but he didn't see. He was like, "Oh, I missed it." Funny. So it's a little slippery, right? A meditation like that, but you can get a sense of the possibility. Oh, but remember you said about the volunteer? The reason why it was like I met a volunteer was we went to the hospital. There was a volunteer there, and I don't know. She singled us out, and she was like our personal caretaker. She was like, "Who are you trying to see?" And then she disappeared, and she couldn't find him. She was on the phone, and she took us to see him, and it was like, she said volunteer on. I said, "Wow, that was really great service." Yeah. She was really happy. She was smiling and. Yeah. So we've been talking about doing certain things, right? To create the potential, to create the essential ingredient in our minds to have an experience like the direct perception of emptiness, or close to it, or something like that, that would push you into a different way of being, right? And we talked about being kind, right? You have to be very, very kind. Very, very kind. And being, on any given day, being very, very kind is going to look different. One day being very, very kind could just mean like just shutting the hell up for a second and walking into another room. Right? Like that may be like the kindness that you can do in that moment. And every day is going to be different. Yeah. One time I was at Canadian Tire, and there was like this commotion happening around the till, and there was a guy there who was obviously a homeless. He looked like a homeless person. Who knows what was going on? But he had a wrench that he had no receipt for, and he was trying to return it. And it was right, and it was a big, and it was customer service, and it was like 10 people, then 11, then 12, and we're all waiting to like do something, make some kind of like transaction at the till. And this guy was not taking no for an answer. And there was only one person behind the till. And this went on for a while, and everybody's getting flustered, and you could see the people in the lineup starting to like get all grumbly, and everybody's blaming everybody else, and then you got the things that happen, right? That the clicks start to happen in the lineup. Right? Certain people agree that this guy's a jerk, and other people agree that this is bad, and they have these little groups. So this went on for a while, and then I decided the kindest thing that I could do was give the guy the cash for the wrench, right? And I just said, I'll buy the wrench. And the guy looked over at me, and he came over. I go, how much was it? He goes, it was $20. And I said, here's $20. Give me the wrench. And it was like it just cooled the whole thing right down. It just like situation was taken care of. So now that's fun, right? I mean, I still have that wrench. Whenever I pull it out, I remember that moment of triumph, where I finally did something right for once. So things like being kind, and then also at the end of the day, we're watching, like, what did I do good today and what did I do not so good today, which develops this watchful state of mind where you can become aware in the day when you're just about to do something not so good, and you gain this ability to say, whoa, and maybe on that day the best thing you can do is just not say anything back, right? Maybe that's the best you can do that day, and if that's the best thing you can do that day, then that is a virtuous act. Then you did the best you could. You didn't like maybe respond in a way that you would have usually responded, and in so doing, you change your reality in that moment. As soon as you start changing your behavior, you change your future reality, because it's your behavior that has created your reality. If you're behaving a certain way the whole time, you need to change that. It's really simple. So, but there's this thing that you can do, and this is for hardcore people. This is people that like really want to get something done, right? And it's called the 6 times book. Yeah, if you really want to like power up your practice and really gain some control over the runaway mind, this is a really awesome practice. A really awesome practice, because you will begin to see your patterns. And I want to say one thing. I talked about seeing emptiness directly, and I also mentioned how you could also think of it as like meeting God directly. And we've said this a couple of different ways during the course, is that when you just make this decision and you think, I'm going to do it. I'm going to meditate my little tushy off, and I'm going to reach these places. Well, guess what happens, right? You see your mind, and you see the thing that's been causing all the problems in your life. And it's not pretty sometimes. You have to face, all of a sudden you see all your jealousy. If you can't hide from it anymore. You see your like selfish, greedy tendencies, right? You get to watch your mind that, like, I don't know, you'll recognize the thing in you that doesn't want to take care of the spider, or wants to be first, wants to get the attention. And I just want to say, this is a really beautiful way of looking at this, is the closer, I'll put it in broad terms, I'll put it in positive terms. We can talk about it positively or negatively. Positively, let's talk God terms. Enlightened, I don't know how you want to say it. Your divine self. I don't know how you want to say it. But the closer that you get to that, the brighter that light shines on the things in you that isn't that. The closer that you get to your intensely loving, luminous, divine self, which is a very radiant, and you can't call it light, but we must say light because we can't understand it. Okay, so you just call it like the light of God, or the light of the God in your mind, or your most divine state. The closer you get to that bright light, the more visible that light shines on the things that are not that in you. So all the things that cannot be godly are shown. They become extremely visible in that light. And it only means you're getting closer, because that light is shining on what cannot come with you. Right? So don't be discouraged. If the cockeye hits the fan and things get hot, and you're having struggles, and all of a sudden oh my God, I can't believe that I'm actually like this. You should be happy, because a month before that you had no idea. You had no idea. You were just walking around like you had no idea you were a jerk. You had no idea. Everyone else did, but you had no idea. But when your light begins to shine, it shines on the stuff that it needs to, right? Because you will eventually be totally united with that. So you need to see it. You need to go through that place where you see all your dark spots and love them into the light. And how you see that and get good at that is your everyday life. Or the people that you see at work, on the bus, on the street, how you react with those people. And that brings me to the 6 times book. And there's a thing here. This is a great little article on the book, and it describes it quite nicely. And there's actually some vows in here. If you're a Tibetan, official Tibetan Buddhist, you take these vows to not do certain things. But remember, early on we talked about 10 things not to do, right? It's like, if you want to keep creating a body that is going to cause you pain, then keep doing them, right? Like harming others, and sexual misconduct, stealing, things like that, harsh words, divisive talk. Those are all the things that we've been doing for lifetimes that have created a world that we see people suffering. We've created people that are actually fighting over possessions, right? About the most meaningless thing that there could be, a stupid possession, and fighting over kids, right? They don't understand where the joy is coming from. They think it's coming from the toy, so they will not share it, right? And what's that? That's just a small version of war, right? That's all that is. And so, acting in those 10 ways towards other people in your life have created a world where you see suffering and you suffer, right? Pain, confusion. Nothing really makes any sense. You try and do all these things to make the certain thing happen, and it might happen or may not happen. You kind of know that. It's like a big kind of crapshoot in a way. Mm-hmm. And then some things you get everything that you could have dreamed for, and you don't even know how it happened. And then that doesn't make you happy. That's weird. But anyway, So we talked about 10 things that we shouldn't do, and they're in this book, the 10 non-virtues. But what I want to do right now is, because this is important, because how you I'll write one section. Let's just pretend that this big thing is actually a version of your book, and I'll show you mine. You get this cool little book, and you fill it out with your 7-year pen, and you fill it out each day when you make these things, right? And each one of those things, you're monitoring your behavior. You're self-administering your. Someone has to do it, okay? You have to monitor your behavior. So you would have. This would be your book. Now, you would write. Let's just say you would write not harming here. And maybe here you'd write not stealing. Well, let's just say we'll write them as vows. So you're vowing not to do these things. So we'll say harming, stealing, harsh words. Someone give me one. Divisive talk. Say wrong view. Sexual purity, or the opposite, sexual misconduct. So if you have the 10 that you're not supposed to do, and you would cycle through these 10 6 a day, right? And then every 2 to 2.5 hours, you stop what you're doing. Takes about 5 minutes, and you check. How have I been behaving in the last 2 hours, or the last 48 hours, something like that. So let's just say you're at work, and suddenly, and if you're really happening, you set your iPhone or something to beep. You're like, oh, okay, I gotta go do my book. You stop what you're doing. You say, I gotta go to the bathroom. And you go to the bathroom, and you look, okay, harming. Have I harmed? Have I not protected life? Have I harmed others in the last 48 hours? So what you're going to have in each section, you're going to have a plus, a minus, and a to-do in each section. A plus and a minus and a to-do. Okay? So, what's the opposite of harming? What's the opposite of killing? Saving a life, right? Protecting life, taking care of others. So you're thinking, okay, I definitely don't want to be harming. What have I done in the last 48 hours that was protecting life? And you just go, I'll just use an example from my life. Okay, I was on the job site, and I looked down, and I saw a 2x4 with a nail sticking out of it, pointing upwards. Someone could step on that. I took the time to move it out of the path, turn it upside down, and get it over to the pile where all that stuff goes. Okay, great. I protected life by I moved the board. And this is a great anonymous act. You're protecting all you don't even know who you protected, right? But really, you're just protecting yourself. So I moved the board. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, now, is there something I didn't do so great in the last 48 hours? The last 2 hours or whatever. Okay, well, let me think. It could be like, well, I pulled a board off of the wall with my crowbar because it was in my way, and it fell onto the ground, and I saw it there, and I thought, okay, I'll move that later. but I forgot. I didn't move it later, or something like that. Really, what I should have done is just jump down and dealt with it right away, because there's lots of traffic on a job site. Say, okay, didn't move the board. Does that mean I'm even now? No. Didn't move the board. So the to-do. So the to-do means it's like a conscious. It's a conscious planting of a potential. It's a conscious planting of something in your mind that must ripen. See, everything that we do, everything that we say, that we think, has a result. So you're thinking, with that on your mind, knowing full well that what you're doing is creating a reality, you decide to do something in your world actively. You go pro-choice. You go, okay, I'm going to monitor my mind, and I'm going to do something about the world the way I see it by doing something. So I think, okay, I am going to you get to be creative, you see. This is the fun part. It could simply be, because you're a living being too, and you need to take care of yourself. It could simply be, I'm going to drink a glass of water. It could simply be that. Or, I'm going to make sure somebody else gets a glass of water. It's the small things that we do every day, all day, that amount to your dharmakaya, that amount to your enlightened self. It's not a bunch of miracles. It's like all the small things that you do, you know? Or it could be, okay, you could say, I'm going to take a walk around the job site before I leave today and see if I see anything dangerous and fix it. Just maybe I'll see something and I'll just do that. Right? Walk around site. Make it safe. So, and then you do that thing. Don't make the mistake that I did when I first started doing this and make some like long list, you know, gonna do my homework, right? Or like gonna do this thing, you know, gonna give this person $5, or gonna do, and then what ended up happening was I ended up with like a list of like 25 things that was I kept shuffling over to the next day, and I tried to eat away at them, and they just became too crazy. So just do simple things. A great antidote, a great to-do, is simply sit and think about the nature of reality. Right? Let's just take stealing for a second. You're saying, okay, stealing. What's the opposite of stealing? Giving, generosity, right? Okay, what have I done? Someone give me an example of something that you could have done in the last 48 hours that was the opposite of stealing.
Charity donation.
I made a donation to charity. I walked down the street, and those guys with the clipboards, they stopped me. And I finally stopped, and I said, okay, here's $2. Okay, donation to charity. What would be something that maybe someone would have done in the last 48 hours, from like now to 48 hours back, that would have been not so good, like stealing, something in the neighborhood of stealing? Come on, Amanda. We all know you did.
It crosses my mind because I used to.
Yeah, that's good. We know.
Getting on the bus without paying.
Oh God!
Like that one.
Didn't pay for the bus.
It still sometimes comes into my mind. I could so easily just slip on the back door.
Yeah.
But I just, I couldn't do it now.
This is good. That's a nice example. Didn't pay for the bus. When when the SkyTrain was like first came into operation. All excited about the SkyTrain, and I was I was on there. I bought my ticket and everything like that, and who knows who bought their tickets, and but there was a person was on there, and it was quite a full, and it was seemed like this person was mentally handicapped in some way, and he walked on, sat down, and he goes, "This is great. When are they going to start charging for these things?" We were all like, nobody said anything, right? But didn't pay for the bus. Okay, so this thing that I mentioned, the seeing emptiness directly thing, that takes in order to push your mind there, it takes a lot of what we call, or they call, wisdom, which means you contemplate the nature of how things are actually coming from you and not at you, right? Like, you're happening to the world. It's not happening to you, you're happening to it. And you can easily prove it to yourself. It's like say if you're driving down the street and there's a crosswalk, and you're driving and there's someone walking up towards the crosswalk, and they don't even look. They don't even care. They just they decide that they have the right of way because it's a crosswalk. They don't care how fast you're going or anything. They're just gonna they're just gonna walk right. And then you're like, and then you stop, or maybe you even speed up. Maybe you make the point, right? You're like, go by them, look back. You could have at least show me the courtesy of just pausing, right? And, giving me the grace of recognizing me as a being or something, right? And it's maybe in your mind it's I got a problem with those crosswalkers that don't even stop; they just go, right? Yeah, you got a problem with those crosswalkers. They don't have a problem. They don't even know you. You have the problem with the crosswalkers, right? But that's not how it seems. Oh, it seems is like crosswalkers, right? It's like this thing in your mind that it's their fault. It's their fault. And it seems like it is their fault, but it's not their fault. It's not. You made the decision. Okay, so a great thing to do in any category is to contemplate the nature of where things come from. So you're like, okay, I made a donation to charity. I didn't pay for the bus. I'm going to think about where do I think rides come from anyway? Right? Where do I really believe that the causes for me to be able to get from point A to point B in my life is stealing? Right? It seems like I got on there and rode there because I didn't pay. It seems like I got away with it, and I got more money. I saved. It's a thing, right? I saved money by stealing, right? And then you think, okay, if good, if there's any sense in the in the world at all, then good must come from good and bad must come from bad. It's not, I can't do a really bad thing to somebody and then just expect to get something beautiful back. That's insane, right? But I sure enjoyed that free bus ride. That was great. I got a free bus ride out of that thing, and then I went and bought an ice cream, and I had more money. So then you got to go, well, wait a second. That can't be connected. That's impossible. How can I? Something else is going on. Then you think, well, but I donated to charity. Then you think, okay, that will give me a good result. That will give me something positive in my life later. I will be taken care of in some way later. And I'll tell you, if you look at it that way, you get more bang for your buck too, because it's more powerful. It's more powerful. So a really, really powerful and strong to-do is simply contemplating the nature of reality and how things are working and how it is that, if you feel good, it's because you didn't harm people. If you feel good, if your body feels good, it's not because you did the yoga. If it was yoga, if yoga made people feel good, if it was yoga that did it, then you could never get hurt in a yoga class. It would be impossible. Something else is going on there. I had a great yoga class. I feel great. Love that teacher. Right? It's not the teacher. Because if everyone in the class is like, maybe like, I've had this lots of times. I'd be like, I went to Open Door Yoga, man, this teacher, I love that teacher. And they're like, are you kidding me? I hate that teacher. He's like a grump. I'm like, really? Wow. Right? Same class. Exact same class. What's going on there? You got to think about those things over and over and over and over and over, because that's what it takes to change your behavior, right? And how you do that is 6 times a day. You just stop. It's so important, because it's if you don't do that, then all you're doing, if you're fortunate enough to meditate on that day, then what? You did like 30 minutes? You did 30 minutes of like being careful out of how many hours, right? This kind of thing, you will notice. You will notice. It will draw out. This will suck the poison out of your mind like you would not believe. But you'll have to see the poison first. When I first started, I was experiencing a lot of divisive talk in my world. A lot of idle talk and a lot of divisive talk. So what I did, I decided to just have every slot be divisive talk. And so I just watched any way that I had a divisive thought about anybody. If I thought, oh, that person's a jerk, or even if I put someone above someone else, I watched those kinds of things and thought about them. And if I was in a conversation and people were like back talking others, I just stopped. I just closed my mouth and just thought, well, the whole time, this is I'm going to create some bad stuff for myself if I keep going. And the only reason why I'm in this situation is because of all I've done before. And I did it for like 3 months every day, and it was crazy what happened. I just kept walking into nests of like crazy divisive talk, way out of the ordinary. I could walk into like these nests of like swearing men, and and I'd be like, I would know. See, by that time because it's so extraordinary, that you're doing it, that you're drawing it out, and then you get to be